Good morning, everybody. I'm Catherine Cooke, leading business advisor and founder of the Engine Limited and an expert in business entrepreneurship. And today I will be discussing with international speaker, president of the Professional Speakers Association New Zealand, founder of Monica Moore, founder of Organised Chaos, and renowned author of Buy the Damn Dress, Monica Moore, on the topic of perspective and decision making. Good morning, Monica.
Good morning, Catherine, and what a lovely welcome. Thank you very much.
Yes, and what a mouthful. And am I nervous speaking to the president of the President Association of New Zealand? But look, Monica, we're here today to talk about perspective and decision making. And like you, I deal with this topic every day on a daily basis. So I quite often talk about getting out of your own way. And you'd often think that, sometimes I see what you're writing on your LinkedIn page and I go, we've read that same book of life, such as our similarity and approach to life. So Monica, first up, how are you doing?
Well, we're in lockdown. We're completely renovating our house. We currently have the kitchen in our bedroom. Even the second bathroom is getting pulled apart today. So, I keep thinking you've got to look at perspective, and we're a lot better off than a lot of other people. And I make that decision to believe that, and then that's how I claim my power and have a much better day as a result of it. Most days. However, I do like to get into what I like to call the groan zone and have a good complain as well. It's good just to get rid of it all, get your perspective again, and away you go.
Yeah, you've talked about it previously with me. It's about giving yourself that permission to kind of deal with what you've got to deal with, and then let's just say put your big girl pants on and just get on with it, right? And quite often we basically stand in the way of our own way. We are roadblocking our ability to get to where we need to be going. So, let's talk about that book. And what I thought I'd do is let's just share my screen. So obviously, feedback like this. I've been meaning to message you about your book. What I've read so far is inspiring. You're an inspiration. I love reading your positive posts. I love that book. I mean, let's face it, red is my favourite colour, and you look absolutely awesome in that colour. So why did you write that book? What was the inspiration behind it?
I think it was, it was actually based on, I'm a bit of a slow learner, and it was based on my own journey of decision making and honouring who I am and how I am, because I spent a lot of my life wanting to be someone else. I always thought that everybody else looked better than I did, spoke better than I did things better than me. And so it's sharing my journey. It's quite funny in places. I was 27 when I bought this dress, and I realised that I really wasn't giving myself permission to live the life I wanted. I was living a very small, minimized, but safe life because I was anxious and frightened of things that didn't really exist. So I have a whole chapter on fear in there as well. And then from that, I realized it's, while it looks like it's about buying clothing, and I do use the buying the dress analogy, it's a much bigger picture. And it's about ourselves, because where we come from and how we believe in ourselves really does affect our life outcomes, and that can be changed with the words that we say and the stories that we tell ourselves, but also it applies very much in our business lives. I don't believe we have a work-life balance. We have one life, and we choose if we want to put a lot of time into our work. When you're writing a book, you certainly need to, or you want to put it into your social life or your family life or your downtime. So this does apply right across the board for personal development as well as business development.
Yeah, and you're quite right. It is about the choices we make. And, I always say to people, look, just before you jump in with something, just pause it, because that time to pause something is not going to make a difference to whether you miss out or don't miss out. You won't miss out. We've got this DIY mentality. We've got to do it right now, and we've got to do it ourselves. But if we paused it and we actually went and got external advice or, just obviously pearls of wisdom, then when we restart that button again, the choices that we make are going to be more informed and more wise.
Totally. Totally agree, but also I really got into this is that something happened to me when I was 38, and it's a long story short. It culminated in a woman saying that she had done something because she wanted to make decisions for her and about her. And I still remember that conversation, and it wasn't exactly a couple of years ago. And in that moment, I realised here I was 38, I had 3 children, I worked as a teacher, I had a part-time business, and I realised I had no idea how to make decisions for me or about me. I had been very fear-based in doing what I thought everybody else wanted me to do. And I've broken that down in the book into where we come from, why we make decisions. Because after all, there is no education around decision making, and yet it is one of the most important, pivotal, crucial skills in our life. So I started to research this after I'd had this conversation with this person when I was 38. And so I did some postgraduate study. I love to study things. And from that, it morphed into me winning a scholarship and a sabbatical to go and study management and leadership. And then from that, it was one of the best things I ever did. It was an initiative through a place called Nestle in Australia. From that, I started to do my own work, and I realized that basically when what you know and what you feel and what you do are aligned, you are more likely to make good decisions. Because why is it that some people can make successful, meaningful, and happy decisions with everything that they're doing, and then there's other people trying so hard, but they fall well short no matter how hard they try? And you can't put that line down the middle of the page and go pros and cons. We know that doesn't work. And hopefully we learn by experiences and we look at other people. But really, we do need to have our own very clear decision-making process. And it has to involve what you feel. Gut feeling is very big.
You're saying those words out of my mouth again. Like I was just actually talking from my gut, saying gut feeling, and gut came right out of your mouth. So,
it can't always be that on our own, because sometimes we can be a bit impulsive. We'll get this feeling, go, oh, yes, let's buy this castle. And then you know it's going to be an awful lot of work, and you know you don't have the skills, and then you really don't know what you're going to do to get there. So by having all three, because if you're just doing what you feel like, you might end up on Takapuna Beach selling fur coats in the middle of summer. That's not going to work. So you've got to really look at what you feel, what you know, and then what you're going to do. And some people say, I know I have to do this. And then they go off and do the dead opposite in their actions. And that's just part of the...
And look, just breaking it down, I mean, obviously, when we are making those really big decisions in life, there's quite a lot of emotional attachment that goes with it. I mean, we're human beings, right? And so we're quite tactile people. And that's why I always say to people I know, and it just, and obviously through life experiences, we've built up that good, let's just say, shield collateral of what we know works and doesn't work. So when you're going to an auction, don't bid on that house yourself. Take someone else along, say to them, right, this is all I can go to. And I've actually said to a friend of mine, okay, I'm happy to go and bid on your property that you want to buy, but I'm telling you right now, I also value our friendship. So when we reach that threshold, if you start yelling at me, if we lose our friendship over this, I'm telling you right now, I'm only going to go and do this if we don't go past that ceiling. So, right now, especially with the pandemic, I mean, look, this lockdown has been very different. If I remember the first lockdown, people were really nervous and almost reactive and making decisions without actually a thought process. So, we had people restructuring, on day 1 or day 2 of lockdown and people being retrenched. This lockdown, people have actually gone in with eyes wide open. They do know that they're going to be supported financially, obviously not to cover all their debt. So they're not making those decisions of let's get rid of people because they know they have to replace them. But it's had quite an impact on people mentally, just that whole sort of lack of social interaction. And I think what we really forgot about last time was to communicate with our people. So yes, we're not reacting, but we're still forgetting to communicate. So, Monica, coming back to perspective and what's important, people are important, right? So what pearls of wisdom can you offer the people that are watching this, especially around communication right now? Because that, to me, I feel in the work that I do has a huge impact on people.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll just go back a little bit. It's with dealing with our emotions, and we must we must ride those waves of emotion. And if you're feeling that it's too emotional to clear your brain, then ride that wave and pause. Don't make those decisions straight away. It's always good to, I talk about the helicopter perspective, is look at your life from another place. And one of my favorite words is equanimity, is looking at that place, at what's going on without emotion. And that's a real skill. And what's going on now with lockdown is that it's so unfamiliar to us. It's bizarre. But I've been comforted with things like hearing how when the Spanish flu was in New Zealand in, I think it was 1918, the schools all closed for 4 months. 4 months, absolutely everything was shut down. So this does happen. We had the plagues in the Middle Ages where people had got away. They couldn't understand what was going on for a start. And one of the things that really helped was people started to wash their hands. Now we're wearing masks. Now we're getting vaccines. And there's a whole lot of conversations around that causing division. But I think, again, a lot of people are driven by fear and of actually dealing with this thing. I'd quite like it just to go away. It was like, look, we did a lockdown last year. Isn't that enough? What do we just go away? And we try and convince ourselves. So sometimes if you're working from your emotions, it's like, well, I don't want this to be happening. So I'll believe what this person is saying and I'll go, yes, it needs to be like this, because it's important to stop and just accept it. We've got a virus. And it's accepting that it really doesn't affects it. There's no rhyme nor reason around it. It doesn't affect anybody for any particular reason. Originally, we thought it was the elderly, and then it was people in their 50s. And then we're hearing stories of people in their 20s that may have survived it, but 18 months later, they still need oxygen every day. So starting to filter that into your head, that this is here to stay. And then you're thinking, well, actually, I'm quite fortunate. People are getting subsidies. We have still got a roof over our head. We have got room. We can go for a walk. So starting to flip that around, and it's a process. It's not going to be do this, this, and this, and it'll be okay. But changing your perspective, that first looking at that helicopter point of view, and then looking at your perspective. And this is what I've got up here. It's one of my backdrops that when I'm coaching about looking at things from different perspectives. Yeah. I talk about the 3 pops, and I really love that drawing, because we can feel like we're up in the air and we think that we're in the clouds, we know what we're doing, then somebody just pops their bubble and then of course we're going to crash. So the 3 pops involve this. The first is your position of perspective. And sometimes I get people to get up and move. If you're in a room and you go and move to one corner of it and look at it, you think, oh, it looks different. And you go and sit in another corner, because not used to coming in and out one door. You see things differently. So first is identify what's your position of perspective in times of COVID, in times of lockdown. And you might then write it down. Well, it sucks. I can't go to work. I'm really worried about my money. The kids are driving me nuts. This is terrible. That's my position. Okay, so now write that in one statement. I don't like being in COVID. And that might be your position of perspective. Instead of looking at it with all your emotion and what you like and what you don't like, what's your position? I'm fearful for my business. So from that, the next pop is your points of pain. What's really painful for you? I know for me, points of pain, it was really ouch, was that I had a lot of speaking gigs, live ones booked, and I'd worked really hard to get them. And then like last year was more cancel. This year it's more postponed. But I've learned to look at, that's a point of pain. So what could I do to keep my relationship with my clients going? What can I do? So start to ask those good questions. I have a whole chapter on good questions in here as well. I start to ask those questions. And then from that, I look at the 3rd pop, which is patterns overcoming that pain. So instead of waking up in the morning wallowing in self-pity, I might give myself 5 minutes to feel sorry for myself. Then I need to look at the different perspectives. Hey, I don't have to get up and drive anywhere right now. I don't have to, I've got my leggings and my trainers on with my dress today. And so you can look at all the things that do work, and that can really change what I like to call mindset reset. I'm actually running a 30-day mindset reset for November. And we're going through these processes. So working with our Organised Chaos brand, looking at that. And it's an online on a Monday night and on a Thursday night, because we've got quite a few people interested. So if you remind me, Catherine, I might offer a little deal on that to you.
Oh, look, absolutely. Always up for a deal. And, I guess really, in the work that I do, I talk about reframe the opportunity, reframe the negative into an opportunity, because there is always an opportunity in negativity. And if you actually turn it around, then you'll see it from that different perspective.
Totally. And that's why 3 pops is easy to remember. What is my position of perspective? Because it's so good to go, I hate COVID, this is terrible, what about my business, what am I going to do? And get into what I like to call the groan zone, which is also getting into going from the groan zone, moving to what I call the known zone, where you start to think, well, maybe I have more power than I think. Then you go into the zone where you're really rocking it. But that position of perspective then moves into really writing down, what are the ouchies, your points of pain? What are you really worried about? And then what patterns could I establish to overcome this pain? So what you're really worried about, you make it into 2 different things: the things that are real and the things that I've made up in my head.
Yeah, and just talking about the things that are made up in your head, we have this automatic reaction to think about things that haven't happened. And yet we drive a car around every day and we could be caught in a collision, but we don't think about that. We get in a car and then the accident just happened. But, outside of the car, we're constantly worrying about the things that haven't happened. And I love the fact that you're doing that mind reset. I also work with a couple of other people in that space as well. And again, it's a habit. You've got to form that habit.
Well, totally. It comes also from our subconscious self, our experiences when we were little. I just wrote a piece on the vaccines, and I talked about why I don't like them and what all my triggers were, and then I went through the process of what I did before I actually went and got them. And it's just sharing, really going back and thinking, what is this a trigger for me? And if we don't operate, I call it with responsibility. And responsibility, I think I said this last time, it's just an ability to respond. And we have to learn that. Now, if we don't learn that, we go back to our primal natural reactions from our early days in the caveman of fight, fright, freeze, or fawn. We look at those things because they're in us, they're safe. Yeah. So we have to really stop and use that word awareness. Being aware of what you're doing.
Yeah. And I guess at the end of the day, we always hear about flight and fight. It's amazing the different types of people and the resilience that we can build up if we actually do not necessarily fight it in a negative way, but fight it in a positive way. Also, you today about, I say to people, let's fuel up. If you're going on a road trip, you'd always have a full tank of gas, right? So when you're in the moment of needing to make a decision, make sure you're fueled up. That could be having good sleep, having eaten well, having gone for that walk to really just clear your head. But, like a car, if you don't have fuel in it, you go nowhere. So look after your body. What wisdom have you got around that, Monica?
Well, again, I always speak, and it's the very first part of the chapter, is to treat yourself like a gift. Actually climb inside a gift box. And if I'm treating myself like a gift and you're treating yourself like a gift, and I don't mean like competition whose gift's better than the other, just accepting that you are a gift, because you are not one of the 7.7 billion people in the world. You're one of one. Never before in the history of the world has someone like you existed. And never again in the future will there be someone exactly like you. And sometimes we're so fearful of that, of how incredible we are, that we don't know. We just don't know. So really start to think about yourself like that. And again, I've got it all the way through the book. And I've got a little character right there, and she's wearing a dress going, me, a gift? What? Because we don't think about our giftedness, particularly in New Zealand society, where we are often performing and conforming, and we're not really thinking about who we are and how we are and what we really want. And a lot of people go, oh, that's very woo-woo, you've still got to earn some money. Yes, you do. But if you want to be an artist, that doesn't have to be your career. Go work as a waitress, get enough to get by, or a waiter, or go find something to do. Go clean. Yes, of course, you've got to have an income, but that doesn't mean that's your end game. And of course, you've still got to look after your 3 kids and get up in the morning and feed them and look after them and change nappies and do that. You can't always just do what you want, but when you accept that you are a gift, it changes everything.
Absolutely. And, you know, I always, you know, even with myself, you know, schedule a meeting with yourself, you know, make sure you put some time into that gift and give yourself the undivided attention to be able to make those high impact decisions. You know, you deserve it. So if you don't give yourself that time, it's no wonder you're at the collision, you know, or you're in triage or wherever you might be. But you know, I remember you saying to me, you know, we were at an event and you said to me, Catherine, get over it, own it. You know, this is your life, you know, this is your journey, own it. And it really resonated with me because, you know, even though I'm, a solid business advisor amongst a lot of businesses, I'm also vulnerable too. You know, I have those moments.
Everybody is. Every single person is vulnerable. Yes. Everybody is vulnerable. My Google making a noise. I hope
that's all right.
Away now. Everybody is vulnerable, and once you realise that we are all eye to eye, and I love this. Tama Iti actually said it. We are all eye to eye. No one is better than you, and you're not better than anyone else. And this is why in companies and organisations that flatline management and transformational leadership works so well because somebody's the manager. They're not the manager, and you're the receptionist. You need that receptionist, you need that manager. You've got your different sets of skills, but you're still eye to eye.
Absolutely.
And that's where those hierarchical structures don't work so well. If somebody's the CEO, people say, oh, they're the person at the top. Their job is to make some of the really yuck decisions, the big decisions. Their job is to support and look after everybody else. They have managers that also do it. But every single person in that role is needed and required. And that's why working eye to eye is fantastic. And knowing your role and understanding that you are needed and valued and you must be respected because of it.
And that's an interesting comment that you're making. And I call it the art of listening. You know, if you are in a leadership role, the art of listening is so important. Yes, you have a perspective. Yes, you can agree, disagree, or agree to disagree. But that person needs to be heard and needs to feel valued. And, you know, I think as people, as human beings, we get so caught up in being right that we actually don't give ourselves the opportunity to listen to what the person's saying and to actually get a perspective that maybe we haven't heard. Do you find that in your line of work is something that...
Totally.
Yeah,
absolutely. And some people listen to respond. They've already got their response, or some people listen to listen. And something that works really well is listening to somebody, because sometimes I feel it's a terrible thing of mine. I feel really impatient and I think, well, I already know this and I've got an answer, but you need to listen and then you need to paraphrase what they've just said. So what you're saying is that you're not particularly happy that you're still here at 7:30 at night when all of the managers have gone home and you're still doing all the work.
Yeah.
And yes, that's what it is. So that's your perspective. And this is a point of pain for you because you need to get home. And after all, you're not sharing in the company profits. You're working from a salary. I get that. So what are we going to do to make a plan? And that does lead me on to my next. Would you like me to mention our cup?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is my
that's not a cup of tea, is it? No.
This is it's a quite important cup to me. I was on a course once and the lady taking it went around and got, my cup's even got a chip in it, always had it. She went around to a whole bunch of secondhand shops and got these cups. And she just drew us into what a cup means. Like we have a cup, we've got stories from her past on remembering my grandmother making a cup of tea to have with her apple pie. And you have these memories around cups. Often a cup is to do with over a conversation. You stop, you nurture yourself from the cup, you drink from the same cup. So I've come up with an acronym with cups, and it is around those conversations. You know, listening is so important. You've got to do that. And then from that, if there's some conflict, you just start off with commonality. So let's say Catherine and Monica are both trying to get a business deal over the line. And Catherine's just called and said, Monica, I've got to get this done. It needs to be done in the next 20 minutes. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, I haven't got 20, I can't drop everything now. So you start off by, Catherine, we both want this deal to work. Commonality. I understand that you've got some pressure, and I know you understand I've got to get this work done too. And that's the understanding the you. So let's make a plan, P. And then they might come back and say, oh, yes, but you've got no idea. I'm really in lots of big trouble. We go back to your commonality. We both want this deal to work. I understand you're under pressure, and you know I've also got these equally important things to do. So let's make a plan. And sometimes you've got to repeat yourself 4 times, but it works.
Oh, look, absolutely. And that commonality also, you know, builds a great deal more respect. You know, it means that, you know, you're building that relationship in the way that you need to go forward to make it stick. So I always say to people also, sometimes traumatic events is the catalyst for us to move forward. So we do need to go through those fearful moments and that sort of, you know, race of, you know, pain, as you call it. And it is pain, you know, it's quite real for people and understand. I was actually talking to someone yesterday, and this particular person said to me, but I'm so grumpy and I'm so impatient, and what they're saying is wrong, and da-da-da-da. And I said, well, let's break it down, because, you know, what I know to be true is that generally what people are saying, there's 10% of truth in what they're saying, and they're just not being heard. And if you actually heard them, then you get rid of the other 90%, which is noise. Yes. So I said, you need to step away until you can come back and realise that you need to put grumpy and impatient at the door and walk over the door with obviously your ears on and listening. And I say this to people all the time, have you got your ears on? And they kind of look at me going, of course I've got my ears on. But I don't know whether it's an art that we learn as we get older, simply because we've gone through those life experiences. I actually had adversity when I was 27 and I had an aneurysm and I lost the hearing in my left ear. And for me, that put a huge perspective on things, because I was told stay home, have babies and be a mum. And I was like, never thought about having babies, let alone stay at home. So it gave me the perspective and the drive to where I wanted to go. But what I'm really saying to you is I take more time to hear what people are saying, simply because I have a disability, which, you know, for most people is not visible. It's not like I've, you know, wearing a sling and only got one arm or something like that. It's a very not visible disability. But I guess really the point I'm coming back to is what you're saying is it's just to pause. You know, that analysis paralysis is so real that gives yourself permission to know it is real, and then step back, pause, get clarity, and anticipate the opportunity. So wrapping this up, what tips have you got for the viewers, other than buy the damn dress book, because that's really important? But what tips?
Well, not necessarily don't have to buy the book, but only if you're interested in it. But one I was going to
say...
No,
they have to buy it, because for $20, they're going to...
it's great value. It's great.
Life experience. So how much is it?
It's 20. Did you say how big it is? Well, how much is it?
So how much was it again? Sorry,
it's $20. But I was just going to say up here, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a little name it, claim it, frame it. And when you're talking about your person, it's really great. I'm grumpy, I'm frustrated, I'm impatient. Okay, so find one word. Find one word to explain how you're feeling right now. Now, that takes time, and that gives you time to analyze what you are feeling. You're only allowed one word. Go find it. Name it. Now, claim what it is you're doing. Well, I'm getting really heightened, I'm getting really angry, and I'm throwing things around the room, and I'm jumping up and down. Okay, so frame what you're going to do now, because we know jumping up and down and throwing things around isn't going to get you. Frame what you're going to do. Name it, claim it, frame it. So because I come from a theatre background, and because my memory is not that great, I like to make these little things like the 3 pops for perspective, the CUP, CUP, commonality, understanding, make a plan, name it, claim it, frame it. And it's all the way through the book, just that people can grab. But some of it can be an age thing, but also we just weren't taught those things. Mm-hmm. You can't do a degree in decision making. Oh, I've got a quite extensive system in there for looking at which zone you're currently in the grown zone. I can't do anything. This isn't working. This is terrible. Or the known zone, which is quite scary, which is about, well, maybe I can. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can do things. looking at possibilities and then unpacking those possibilities. And then when they start to work, you're in the zone, and you didn't even know that you could honor who you are and how you are and have a life that you really want to jump out of bed in the morning and have, which sounds very woo-woo, and it takes time.
And it's so important to actually jump out of bed and enjoy what you're going to do, because, you know, we can't get that time back. So it's really important that you kind of address what is holding you back. And, you know, I guess my tip is, you know, if you want a different outcome, you need a different perspective. And to get a different perspective, you need to have a sounding board or an external advisor. And that's why my client work with me and your client work with you, is that they get that different perspective. And I used to, you know, read a lot of my testimonials. Catherine challenges me, Catherine challenges me, Catherine challenges me. And there was a time in my life where that used to worry me. Used to worry me, that word challenge. And I had to sort of ask myself, why was it worrying me? You know, because I was viewing it in a negative way. But in actual fact, the challenging part is actually positive.
It's changing it, and it's about changing your perspective. Like I like to use the man that invented Toyota cars, Mr. Toyota with a D. He talks about the 5 whys. So when you're thinking about doing something, well, why are you doing this? I'm doing this because it's going to work for me. Why do you think it's going to work for you? And keep going back, and then you'll find, because he actually takes you through a set of perspectives where you've got to really justify what you're doing with what you know, what you feel, and what you do. And I tend to go to gut feeling first, that even though it doesn't make sense, I know that in the future it's going to look like this, and this is what I'm going to do to make sure it gets there, rather than just do what you feel like. If you just do what you feel like, I'd never get my housework done. You know, you've got that big picture. And look, just coming back to your mindset reset in November, how do we find out some more information around that? Well, if people are listening and they go to the Eventbrite link, which I'll put at the bottom of this, and they use, I'm going to tell them to use, if they use the engine, they can have, I'm feeling very generous today, they can have $100 off. Will cost you $49 for, it's 5 weeks in November. Normally it is 4 weeks in a month. So we're starting on the 1st of November. It's you become a member of our exclusive VIP Facebook group, and we'll meet once a week, and we have targets and activities for you for the week, and you've got to report in. We're going to be your accountability buddies and having a look at these mindset resets. So when things are really getting you down, we're not going to have all the answers to all your problems, but we're going to empower you to answer those problems and find success in what you're doing.
And that's what people need, that word challenge, isn't it? You know, challenge you to think about, you know, what is it that's making you feel this way, and then to put that skill set in front of them, and then they have the choice to what they do or don't do. And so coming back to sort of rounding this up, give yourself that time to meet with yourself and have that undivided attention. If you are half-heartedly into something, then you're going to end up with an outcome like that. And
totally.
I've always said to my children is, you know, you've got an A, B, and a C life. If you want an A life, don't put a C effort in. And it's the same thing that I say to my clients. You know, if you want to get to where you need to be, it doesn't matter whether you have a C life, a B life, or an A life. Be in the life that you're comfortable in and that works for you.
Totally. And no one else can judge that A, B, or C life. It's completely your choice. And that can be so overwhelming. Oh, it's my choice, what I'm going to do. I always like to say, even if I'm in meetings, I'll say, look, I've had to have a meeting with myself and I've decided. And then it just becomes part of my language. And I used to call them check-ins. How do I feel? But I have a meeting with myself going, oh, why am I feeling like this? And sometimes you need to. I was feeling a bit bleh yesterday. So I went and I don't have carbs, so I had a burger, and it was like, oh, so nice. Hadn't had one in probably 3 years, and it was just so good. So sometimes I had a meeting with myself, and this is what I'm going to have. But today I won't be having another one. So I'll be riding the waves through this issue to get to the other side, with, you know, whatever it may be.
And I guess for the viewers that are watching this, we're going to wrap this up right now. You can see Monica and myself, we're just like you, and we're doing life in the same way, just like you. But what we know to be true is that if we don't actually, you know, practice what we preach and pause, reset, take a perspective, get sounding boards, go into having a conversation. Those conversations are real. I look in the mirror quite often and have a conversation with myself. If we don't do that, then, you know, life will actually become overwhelming, and it doesn't need to be. So possibilities and opportunities, make the most of what you've learned and taken away from this today. Mindset reset coming up in November. Buy the damn dress. Love everything that you're doing, Monica, and you have a great Thursday. The sun is shining. It's beautiful out there.
It is a beautiful day. I was wanting to turn around and let this light come in, but I'm on my picnic table because we're renovating and we're surrounded by bricks and not using my office. We haven't got good lights today, but that's just how it is. Life isn't perfect, but done is better than perfect.
Absolutely. And just a reminder, when we put this video back up, we will put that Eventbrite link, and obviously $100 off if you are an engine person watching it. We would love to have you there. So I will definitely be there, because I definitely, you know, with all the work that I've been doing, it'd be really good to come along and just even do a mindset reset for myself. So okay. Monica, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure as always, Catherine. Love having a chat with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thanks for the coordination with the earrings today and the outfit. That was
yes, you definitely.
You got the memo too. All right, take care.
Lovely talking. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.